Hello there, me, Mike Bennett here with another short video, and this time I wanted to talk about something that when I was a kid was a great enthusiasm of mine. It's comic books. When I was a kid, I loved comics. When I was very small, in the early 70s, I would get things like, Whizzer and Chips and Core. Core was my absolute favourite. These were British comics and they were just kind of funny sort of kid stories. But I also used to get Marvel comics. Marvel in the UK used to reproduce their American comics in a kind of a weekly format, and they would divide them up. So maybe you would get like I don't know, something like Daredevil and Iron Man and SpiderMan. From the American editions, and they'd sort of take a few pages out of the Spider-Man, a few pages out of the Daredevil, and a few pages out of the Iron Man, take all the colour out of them, they'd be in black and white, and then they'd put them into the UK equivalent. I've got an example here of what I'm talking about. This is Captain Britain comic from 1977, and as you can see, the cover is in colour, but when we go inside, the story is in black and white, and for the first few pages it's Captain Britain, and then it becomes the Fantastic Four, and so we get a few pages of Fantastic Four fun at the end. Yeah, you got Nick Fury. So that was the British comics layout. And then later in the 70s, they actually started to import the American comics, which was incredibly exciting. As soon as I remember I saw them and I thought, wow, look, it's the American comics, wow. And I had a paper round, so I spent all my money on American comics, and I had favourites, of course, as everybody does. My favourites were the Marvel, but I also liked DC. Basically, I liked anything that was a comic book. I'll try and keep it pretty tight and just show you some of my favourites. XMen, of course. Everybody's favourite, right? This was the part of the Dark Phoenix saga, which was kind of like the apotheosis of the whole X-Men thing, for me anyway. And it was a fantastic story. But what was really depressing about the Dark Phoenix saga was, where I lived anyway, I don't know, maybe across the whole of the UK, I don't know, but the final episode didn't come in. It wasn't available. I was so upset. I would go up every day to the newsagents, all the newsagents in town, and say, where is it? Why haven't you got it? Newsagent didn't know, just wasn't there. What else did I love? I used to love, obviously, SpiderMan. I was a huge fan. This is, I think that's the first appearance of the Hobgoblin, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I am. I'm sure you'll let me know if I am. Black Panther. This was available for a while, and it was of course extremely exciting, as you'll know if you're a Black Panther reader. Another favourite of mine, and of course nowadays a great big TV favourite, is Moon Knight. This is episode 1. Fancy that? Yes. When that appeared, I pounced on it because it looked so cool, and it was. Ghost Rider. I loved Ghost Rider. Who doesn't? I mean, for heaven's sake, it's a man riding a motorbike whose head is a blazing skull. I mean, it doesn't get any cooler than that, does it? Well, maybe. Daredevil. This was the Frank Miller era of Daredevil, and it was extremely exciting. I think it was bi-monthly at the time. So you'd get, you'd get one in January, but you wouldn't get the next one until like March. But still, even then, it was worth waiting for. And finally, from the Marvel pile, I think this is probably my favourite. ROM, Space Knight. It was a kind of a joint thing that Marvel did with Mattel toys, because ROM was actually a toy, and they made a comic out of it. And it was really good. He used to be a man, but he was made into a space knight, and he came to Earth, and he could see, because he had this sort of special, it's actually this gizmo here, he'd shine this light over people, and it would reveal whether or not they were these hostile aliens called dark wraiths. And he could see that they were dark wraiths, but nobody else could. So when he sort of wasted them with his big ray gun, everyone would get very upset and think, oh my god, he's an absolute monster. But he wasn't a monster, he was saving us from the dark race. So it was really, really cool. And now to the other crowd, DC. I used to really enjoy this kind of thing, you know, mystery and secrets of haunted house. These were my favourite from the DC canon, you know, sort of anthology stories. You get some dude like that fella there with his kind of crypt keeper type appearance, and he'd introduce the story, and I just thought it was super cool, and you know, ripped it off years later in the Hall of Mirrors. Apart from that kind of comic, I wasn't really big into DC. I'd get things like Superman and that, but Superman was rubbish at the time. I liked Green Lantern. He was okay. He was, you know, sometimes he had a good story, but of course, by far and away, the absolute champ of DC was always Batman. I loved Batman then, and I still do now, as I know pretty much everybody everywhere does. And that's about it. Thank you very much for hearing me out and looking at my childhood hobby. I don't know, maybe were you into comic books? If you were, maybe you'd like to share some of your favourites in the comments below. I'd be interested to read them and, you know, to see if we had the same likes and dislikes. Anyway, thank you again for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll bung another video up quite soon, hopefully before Christmas, with something else. I don't know what, but something.